how to build an easy mob farm in Minecraft. These are the resources you will need for this farm. Okay, so the first step to this farm is to find yourself somewhere to build it. Now I would recommend that you build this farm above the ocean simply because it will improve the spawn rates in the farm a lot, but you can still build this above land. So if you're going to be building it in the ocean, I would recommend that you build it about 100 blocks above the ocean floor. So anyways, after you found the area you want to build a farm at, simply place yourself out a double chest with then 4 hoppers going into the double chest, just like this, and then you will need to place 1 slab on top of each of the hoppers. So anyways, after you've done that, you will need to build yourself a small wall going all around the slabs, just like this, beside on the front side, because we will need to expand this wall by 1 more block going upwards, and then a small wall right here, because this is where you will stand and kill the mobs. So anyways, after you've done that, you will now need to build this wall that's all around the middle part right here, 20 more blocks up in the air. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So anyways, after you build this 20 up in the air, what you will need to do now is head to all of the sides pretty much, and then build out 7 blocks from the 2 blocks we have right here. So pretty much 7 more blocks out from this block right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then do the same on this side. So now you should have a total of an 8 block long line right here. Then after you've done that, you will need to place a temporary block on the tip right here, expand this by 1 more block, then simply build a 2 block high wall going all around the little stripe we just built going outwards right here, if that makes sense. But if you don't understand, simply just do what I'm doing. So now you should have something looking like this, and you will need to build this little thing we have just built on all of the sides, so right here, and right here. So to do that, simply expand this by 7 more blocks going outwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then simply build a 2 block high wall all around the little thing we just built going outwards. That you should now have something looking like this. And to make sure I've done this correctly, you can head into each of the kind of end parts of each of these pillars going outwards, place 2 water sources, and the water should flow just about until the middle but not fall into the killing chamber. And if the water is still there, then you've done this correctly. So anyways, after you've done that, you will now need to head into the corners right here, and from the block that's right here, so pretty much behind where the water is, you will need to build a little pillar going out until you reach the other side, and then simply link up all of the sides of the farm just like this. And you will of course need to do this on all of the sides, and then simply fill in the middle part. So after you've linked up all of these on of course all the sides, you will simply need to head into here and then build a massive platform. Okay, so after you've done that, what you will need to do now is head into each of these platforms, and pretty much above where the water is, you will need to place out a trapdoor and then open it, and then do this on all of the lines right here. And it's very important that you have the trapdoor on the top block right here, so when it's open you will kind of be able to walk on it without falling down, if that makes sense. Now this is very important, and we're doing this because mobs will walk out here thinking that trapdoor, even when it's open they will think it's full block, which means that they will walk out here and then fall into the killing chamber. So yeah, that is why we're doing this, and that is also why it's important to keep these trapdoors on the top part of the block. Okay, so after you've done this, you will need to head to the corner of the farm, place a temporary block in the corner, expand this by 1 more block going outwards, then destroy that temporary block, and then what you will need to do is simply build a wall going all around the platform we have just built. So pretty much what we've built of the farm so far. And then after you've done this, you will need to expand this by 1 more block going upwards. Okay, so after we have done this, we really just have a couple more steps to do. Now the next step we're gonna do is spider proofing this farm. So if you want spiders to spawn in this farm, you will simply just need to hop over and ignore this step. But if you don't want spiders to spawn in this farm, do this step now. And before we get started on this, I quickly want to explain why we're doing this, and that is because spiders are big enough to actually walk over there without falling into here. Now they can still fall into the water, but they are able to walk over it, and if they actually fall into the water, they can actually climb up here and back onto the platform, or simply get stuck inside the wall right here. And of course, if you stand AFK for a couple of hours, you might end up having a couple of spiders just stuck in the farm which aren't dying, which then means that other mobs will spawn less, which will ultimately make this farm a little bit worse. So if you want to make this farm as best as possible, I would recommend spider proofing it, but of course if you still want stuff like string and spider eyes, you can simply ignore the step. But anyways, to spider proof this farm, you will need to head to the corner of the farm, place a button right here, then simply leave an empty block here, place another button, empty block, button, empty block, button, empty block, button, and then you will need to do this on top of the whole farm, just like this. Now I also want to say you can use trapdoors instead of buttons, but honestly buttons are so much better because they are so much more cheaper. So anyways, what you should have now is something looking like this, and you will need to do this on all of the platforms of course, so then simply do the same here, place a button, empty space, button, empty space, button, and yeah. Okay, so after you've done this step, if you of course decided to do it, now you will need to build a roof over the farm. So you will need to place a block in the corner, expand it by 1 block going out. You can destroy that block, then simply build a roof on top of the farm, so pretty much a block roof covering the farm. Okay, so after you're done with the roof, what I would quickly recommend you do is place some torches on top of here, simply to prevent mobs from spawning, and then we are basically done. Okay, so after you've lit up the roof, you can use as many torches as you want. What you will need to do now is simply head down to here, and also you should also spawn soundproof this platform right here, just to make sure that no mobs spawn on top of here. And yeah, now the farm is pretty much done. Now one quick recommendation is that if you want to stand AFK in this farm, you will simply need to head right under here, build about 5 or 6 blocks going downwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then simply stand AFK on top of this block, because if you stand AFK right here or 1 block lower down, the most amount of mobs will spawn in the farm. But anyways, as you see a skeleton has spawned, you simply hit it once and it dies. So yeah, that is pretty much the farm. Zombie, 1 kill, boom, dead. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this one. So now you will just have to stand there and wait for all those mobs to spawn, and you will get a bunch of mob drops along with a bunch of XP. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.